Let's hear from Nico Lapierre right now.
This gentleman has had quite an up and down weekend. Nicola, just stay to the back of your car. There's an awful lot of gaffer tape on it. But despite that, that was actually quite a good race for you.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, it was better than the last one, so that's what I'm looking for, improve every time. But obviously I get a big hit at the beginning of the race, and it hit a little bit the right rear, so I think the car is not perfect, but in the end it was a good race. I lost the sixth position on the last lap, so I was a bit disappointed, but it's getting better, so I'm quite happy.
So is this Tom Chilton that's gone into the back of you here? Do you know when it happened?
Yeah, it was on the first corner, so I don't know where he came from, but he was quite fast and just hit me quite badly, but it's okay, the car was still running, but I think it's not at 100%.
Okay, well, best of luck then for race 2. Thanks, Nicola.
Unless it's really deranged the rear end, the suspension, hopefully everything should be all A-OK there. They won't worry too much about that rear bumper. The stewards obviously didn't in race 1, didn't bring him in. It's not hanging around or flapping about, so he should be OK. Championship being led by Jose Maria Lopez. Gap extending, as I said, now out to 85 points. I think that's what it says. At least that's what my maths tells me. I wouldn't necessarily go for that. I did get O-level, but week 1 in A-level maths, I was going, okay, I don't get any of this. I haven't. I'm no, really lost. And I wasn't trying to talk on air at the same time. So there are all our championship points scorers this year. And Grégoire de Moustier, pretty sure his car ready to go back out. But the one that we need to catch up with really is Ma Qinghua, find out what's happened with the Chinese driver's car. We'll catch up with Hugo Vallant. He'll be on pole for race 2.
Well, we know guaranteed that our pole man for race 2 will be Hugo. Just let him get his helmet on. Hugo, that wasn't a very good start again.
Yeah, no, stole the car. Well, it was weird because I had a conversation with my my engineer, and he said that was the start we're the most confident about. We had the setting right, and we don't really know what happened. So we're gonna go conservative now, a bit less aggressive, to have maybe a slower get off the line, but a better end of the start, I guess. So definitely won't stall.
Why is it so hard to get these cars off the line? It's been a real difficulty for you this year.
Yeah, the Chevrolet has been hard. We've seen always the Honda and the Citroën always passes us. Maybe even more for me because I usually start in the front, and when the others start at the back, you can see it less, I guess. But definitely we have to work on that. Now it's much more consistent, and no, very surprised I stole now, and I'm confident for the second race.
Fingers crossed.
Let's see if he can produce the start he needs. Work going on Ma's car, which would suggest that it's not a total write-off. However, we saw that in Slovakia Ring, and frankly, for all the bluff and bluster about yes, it'll be fine, trust us, don't think Citroën really should have been sending him out on track with a car that had so little clutch. Let's see what Alex can find out.
He had very high hopes on home soil, but Ma, drive shaft issues, what's happened?
Yeah, it's a bit shame. For the start, I think it's something wrong. I can feel. But I stole the car. Then I tried to catch up. Then after a few laps, my drive shaft was broken, and there's nothing I can do.
You are suiting up, so you're obviously planning on going out for race 2.
Yeah, I think we have a very good mechanics, so they are repairing my car with no problem. So let's see, we'll fight hard in race 2.
Fingers crossed. Thank you, Ma.
So a drive shaft issue. Now, he did go off like a scalded cat on the formation lap, but as he said, the actual race start itself went just about as opposite as it possibly could go. So cars heading out on track. Rob Huff, good to see that he will be back out. Mehdi Benani now just 30 points behind Norbert Michaelis. Another independent win for Benani. That's a very good boost in his championship aspirations at just the right time. And I will now shuffle to find my bits of paper. There we go. So he has moved, as we expected, ahead of Tom Chilton into second place. He was 33
So
points
standing down
behind
here
after
with
race
one rather battered-looking Chevrolet, with a teammate that has also only 3 wheels on his wagon. Tom Chilton, this is it's been a frustrating day from the moment the alarm didn't go off this morning.
It's been the worst day of my career in terms of having bad luck, basically. It doesn't help by the fact these are proper racing cars, but fundamentally touring cars, they should be designed for a bit of bashing, especially when something like that happened, which was out of my control. And you can see on the front there's very thin carbon fibre. It's like paper mache, and to the point where I've had a light hit and I've ripped off both my radiators. And you know, in Tom's was obviously a bigger incident, but fundamentally it wasn't too hard a hit on the rear tyre and that ripped off. Gabrielli's broken his rear suspension. When I avoided hitting Felipe, who spun in front of me, I lightly clipped, to the point I didn't feel at my steering wheel, lightly clipped Thiago. And all it's done is just grazed my front left alloy. I bent his rear right suspension too, but he managed to finish the race. But fundamentally, these cars are very fragile. Yeah,
Does that mean you can't race as hard then?
You always race hard, but there's a different type of racing, you know. Like I said, touring cars has always been famous for a little bit of bumping and grinding, and you know, it's extremely exciting racing, which is why I race it, because I absolutely love it. But the cars should be made with a little bit more substance. So what if they're 50 kilos heavier or 20 kilos heavier? To make them all out of carbon fibre is A, extremely expensive, and B, very fragile. And I'm stood here now, coming to China, which I love. I always seem to win here, with now no points, and for my teammate, and it's a long flight home.
It's a long way. We'll see you in Thailand in a month.
Yeah, look forward to it.
He has got a valid point, and the drivers have all been saying that all the added aero, yes, all very nice, but it's all very frangible. It comes off very easily and ruins the car when it does.
Just down here with Victor Shapovalov from Lada, who, Victor, all 3 of your cars have gone back out, dare I say, very taped up with lots of gaffer. What are your thoughts? Rob Huff's car, for example, the difference between race 1 and race 2, like, is he safe?
I think now everything okay with the car, so car repair very well, so no any problem. For sure, in first race we were not so lucky with the Rob, but this is racing, so we expect the good performance in the race 2. So.
And on the whole, I mean, we just had a little chat to Lapierre a second ago. I mean, that was actually quite a good race for him, and Nicky has had some great results as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, pace of the car was perfect this race. We showed that the potential we could be fast, and really nice racing. Just a little bit disappointed with Rob's incident, but I think second race could be interesting.
It's certainly nice to see the Ladas just starting to put a little bit more pressure on the Hondas and the Citroens as well, and it must be great for you too.
Yes, for sure. We're working hard, and hopefully the last 2 races we could be even faster, so we will see.
Great, thank you, Victor.
Definitely got more time to think back home at base in the month between now and the race in Thailand, so we'll see what further developments come through on the Lada programme. Pit lane almost closed here in Shanghai. Last few seconds, if there's anybody still in who is trying to get out, then they have to be out of the pit lane before the clock counts down to 0. Otherwise, they will not be allowed to start from the grid. They will have to start from the pit road. DHL pole sitter for round 20 of the World Touring Car Championship is Hugo Vallant on the right-hand side of your screen. And on the left should have been Tom Coronel, but his damaged car means that Gabriele Tarquini has been moved up. John Philippi starts 3rd. 4th place, Rob Huff. 5th place then will be Loeb. 6th is Muller. 7th is Katzberg. 8th is Marr. 9th is Lopez. 10th is Bonani. 11th is Lapierre. So we are ready for round 20. And as we finish business here in Shanghai, another new track this season. Thailand is the venue, the first weekend of November for rounds 21 and 22 of the championship, and then the traditional season finale at Macau. No, that's not happening. We're going to Qatar, to Lusail, for the season finale. Ugo Valence then is on pole position from Gabriele Tarquini. John Philippi, Valence's teammate, lines up in third ahead of Rob Huff, or alongside Rob Huff on the grid. Tarquini and Huff with the inside channel down to the first corner. So Valence with a lot to think about, getting off the grid and keeping the door closed on the inside. Then Muller, Loeb and Marr, with Katzberg mingling in between them. And we'll have to wait and see what kind of a start Marr makes. If it was drive shaft and not clutch or anything else in the transmission, and they will have changed the drive shaft, then hopefully should all be A-OK. Jose Maria Lopez will start 9th rather than 10th because of the absence of Tom Coronel, and Mehdi Benani will be in 10th place. Everybody else who's missing was outside the top 10 anyway. Nico Lapierre will start 11th, Norby 12th, Thiago in 13th place, and Stefano D'Aste will be the last car on the grid because Coronel and Chilton and really Demoustier, I thought his car was pretty much ready to go. Can't see far back enough from our commentary position to see whether he is on the grid or not. So we'll just have to wait and see. Then, oh, he is. I can see him at the back there. So he is on the grid. So he's been moved to the back, presumably because the car needed taking out of Parc Fermé to tidy up some issues and make sure he could make the second start. Norbert Michaelis will be in 12th position then. So not an awful lot of metal in front, but as we saw from race 1 and we've seen in previous years, really and truly it is predominantly the end of the long back straight where the overtaking happens here. So we'll have to wait and see what progress Norby can make in race 2.
Yeah, the times are all very similar lap times, apart from Lopez, who seems to be able to put in a few hot ones to get a gap, which then makes overtaking really hard. It's down to mistakes and or late lunges like Mitchell's did in the last 2 corners of the last lap.
Yeah, you've got to be definitely a thinking racing driver to make passing happen in the modern era. And heard Tom Chilton lamenting the fact that things fall off the cars when you biff them quite frequently. One of Citroen's key elements when they were building up the cars ready for the championship when they arrived at the beginning of last year was to go testing and to deliberately crash into each other, front to rear, left to right, right to left, side on, front quarter, left quarter, to see which bits broke in contact and then to go away and strengthen them.
They did side by side, I hope, as well. Nothing fell off.
Oh yeah, no, they did yes, driving alongside each other. Yeah, no, they did everything. I talked to the drivers about it, and they were saying, yeah, it's the weirdest thing to go out on a racetrack with your own teammate and to deliberately spend the day running into each other. It's like trying to capsize a dinghy. Everything is screaming, no, 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 don't hit him. And yet, I suppose, you know, once you've got over the shock of the new, initially then it becomes, you know, because racing drivers aren't just big kids, obviously, it becomes a little bit of a game, trying to see exactly where you can hit him that he's not expecting and to see the deliberate result. So that's all part of it, you know, they are built tough and they do survive impacts. Not always, but often. Martin Noir then, hopefully everything A-OK under the bonnet of his car and ready to go on the grid. And Nicky Katzberg just a little in front of him. Good weekend so far for Katzberg. Qualified well, drove well, 4th place in race 1. And with 5 healthy Citroens in the field, well, Mars wasn't that healthy, with 5 works-built Citroens in the field, getting 4th position is always a good result. I'm sure he would love to be on the podium, however, that may have to wait a little bit. Be interesting to see what happens at the track in Thailand, whether that favours a nimbler, twistier chassis. Sense that it may not necessarily be the ideal playground for the Citroen, however, there aren't too many places where the Citroen doesn't work. There are places where it works a little better. Paul Ricard would have definitely come into that category this year. Sebastian Loeb 6th on the grid.
Seems like maybe he complained about the vision through his windscreen. They took off the protective film, sticking a new number on that.
Tear off strip, and yes, that's a good one. I was wondering exactly what he was doing there. Of course, he was putting the new numbers on because they were on top of the tear off. Although why they were on top of the tear off and not underneath it, not entirely sure. It's not in the driver's eye line anyway, so that would have worked normally. I wonder what Ivan Muller's thoughts are at the moment in terms of the championship. I think he's probably now in aluminium mode. It's all gone. Realistically, let's not kid ourselves. It's not going to happen. So let's just go out and have fun, win races. Yeah, which is what you tell yourself at the beginning of every year, especially you're in a competitive situation like the Citroën team. You've got to just say, right, I'm just going to go out, win races, and where we get to is where we get to. You can't stress about it from the beginning. Obviously, you give every single moment on track your 100% best shot. But sometimes accidents come and find you. Unreliability is your bugbear or whatever it is. You can't always have everything running perfectly.
He had a big push mid-season and tried his best, and it looks like Lopez has stomped that out.
Well, look, I think that undersells it. You know, he tries his best every single time he's in the car. There's never less than 100% from Muller. But you're right, yeah, the way that the pendulum swung, the luck swung away from Lopez for a while, and Muller was there to capitalise. The problem is for Muller that the pendulum swung back again, and so Lopez now is in that sweet spot once more. He's hitting all his marks, and everything is working well for him. What now happens, though, for the start of race 2 remains to be seen, with two acknowledged good starters, 2nd and 4th on the grid on the right-hand side, and two who have yet to really convince from a race 2 start. Well, certainly John Philippe's not been up as far as 4th on the grid in race 1 or race 2 at any stage. Hugo Vallant's been at the front in a few instances. And this is now where not making a good start from the front row 3 or 4 times in a row is starting to prey on his mind already, I'm sure. And for all that you're trying to tell yourself, no, it'll be fine, I know what I'm doing, we're all sorted, everything's okay, your inner monkey is playing havoc with your mind. Hugo Vallant leads the field around the Shanghai International Circuit, ready for the start of race 20 in the World Touring Cars. He starts from our DHL pole. Rob Huff starts in 4th place. Let's catch up with the British driver and hear his thoughts before the start of the 2nd race here in China. That may or may not cut in as soon as we start talking. Okay, let's see if we can hear from Huffy now.
So he's coming onto the back straight on the warm-up lap. Start of race 2. Obviously not a very successful start to race 1, but it was unfortunately not down to my doing. But boys at Lada Sport Rosneft team doing the most amazing job getting my car completely rebuilt on the rear end, and got me out for a few laps at the end of race 1 just to check everything's okay, which seems to be. Obviously no idea of the handling over the race distance. We've only got a couple of laps in, so these reverse grid races always a bit of fun for some of us drivers, very entertaining. The leading ahead of me in a position that he's not been in before. It should be a good race, getting all the car nicely warmed up, all the settings in place for the start, check the steering wheel, and yeah, get ready to go. Thank you.
Rob sounding remarkably relaxed and ready to go, as he said. Done a couple of laps just to make sure that everything's pointing in the right direction during race one, when the team were rebuilding that rear corner, left rear. And Philippe de Corsac, always entertaining to hear his thoughts on the racing. A mentor for Hugo Vallant. And he will have everything crossed, as the whole Campos Racing team will. Their cars first and third on the grid. There's your world champions, Yves Maton and the Citroën Total Sport team. Grégoire de Moustier comes to the final spot on the grid. Citroën right at Chevrolet right at the back, Chevrolet right at the front with Hugo Vallant, our DHL pole sitter. Round 20 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship is about to begin here at Shanghai in China. With the yellow highlights, Vallant on the right, on the left as you look at it, Gabriele Tarquini, behind him Rob Huff, behind Hugo Vallant, his teammate John Philippi. Away we go. Vallant makes a decent start. Tarquini makes his traditional huge start, and Muller's down the inside. Larders are fanning out behind, but Vallant inside Tarquini. Oh, that's dangerous for Gabriele. There was a car near him. Maybe bits will fall off the Honda again. And oh, Vallant has got into an unexpected slide, entirely unrelated to the presence of Tarquini in his back bumper, I imagine. Muller's in danger area there, trying to go the long way around the outside, but he's going to make it work. Loeb is in there as well. More bumping and boring than in the start of a British Touring Car Championship race. And Tarquini has the lead, and Vallant, something broke, or did something break?
He had enough touches through the first few corners for something to break.
Car just snapped dramatically sideways. I don't think there was anyone close enough to have given him a love tap. Well, that was more arms and elbows, wasn't it? Muller second, Lopez got up to third. Thought Lopez was getting stuck in the pack, and Mara's in there somewhere amongst the Larders. So, shocking getaway for all the Larders. Not a good start to race two. And I think, again, it's Nicky Katzberg who's the best of the Larder drivers. Tarquini is going, but Muller and Lopez now is in the perfect position. He's going to hunker down behind Muller. They'll tow up to Tarquini down the straight, and in 3 or 4 laps, he'll be able to dispose of Muller, hopefully, as well as Tarquini. I don't think he needs to rush this yet. John Philippi having a look at Rob Huff, who's in fact the best of the Larders, in 6th place. And Mar up the inside. He goes by Nico Lapierre. And Michaelis and Bernani with Daste and de Moustier. That's your battle for not being last. Tarquini 1.3 seconds away. Well, now, is this going to be a Thiago Monteiro moment where he canters away from the rest of the field at the start, as Monteiro did in Japan a couple of weeks ago? He gets by Bernani. De Moustier looking to have a bit of a sniff there as well. And Nicky Katzberg is in the pit lane. Not sure what happened to his car. It's still got wheels and an engine. There's your race leader. Now, the thing for Tarquini that he's got to hope is that the Citroën Racing drivers start to have a bit of a dust-up with each other. However, there are 3 of them in line astern. Lopez doesn't need to pass and can actually take a dozen laps, if it requires it, behind Ivan Muller, for them to all tow up behind Tarquini.
Unfortunately, they're probably a bit too sensible to have a fight between them at this stage, so Tarquini's doing a good job in making a break and making his tyres work early on. Let's just hope he can keep going. Monteiro was very good at the end of the race, so maybe that bodes well for his tyres, the back end of this 14 laps.
Yeah, they got a bit more weight in the car after that win in Japan. However, as you say, I think the Citroën drivers are too sensible. Even if positions reversed, even if Lopez was in front and Muller had to get by him, he probably wouldn't be starting on lap 1 or 2. Mar nearly into the back of Monteiro. Behind him, the yellow car, Lapierre. He's flirting with the AstroTurf already. And Lopez being very canny on every straight, just pulling out a little bit, trying to make sure there's some clear airflow going to his car. Hugo Valent's car is back in.
So he made a good start, but messed it up a few corners later on.
Well, unfortunately, with Tarquini constantly inside him and hammering at the door. Again, you know, on a different circuit, if there'd only been one turn at the start or two instead of 3 or 4, then they might have escaped Ivan Muller and all the other cars that were trying to have a go at them. Tarquini's car came out relatively unscathed.
I think Hugo was trying to get back in the end to cover off more of Ivan than anything else, and yeah, just made it.
Car broke, didn't it? Left rear toe arm broken. So the wheel steering itself. As soon as you lean on it then and the suspension squats, the front of the tyre pushes out, which is what you want when you're trying to make the car loose, but when it's unrestrained, it just immediately turns hard left. That drags the car into a spin. So we saw the aftermath. What we didn't see is which of the biffs caused it. I don't imagine that the stewards are going to be applying penalties there, because it was everybody having a go at everybody in the first couple of corners at the start of a race. And you have to be pretty committed as a steward in turn 1 or 2 to say to 2 guys fighting for the lead, well, that was a dirty move and you shouldn't have done it.
And they all had their elbows out, and there's a lot going on, so I think it was nice racing. It's just unfortunate that we had a dropout from it.
Yeah, again, unfortunately, it would be nice to make the suspension stronger, but stronger means heavier, and heavier means slower in a racing car. And everybody tends still to follow Colin Chapman's great ethos, which was design a car and add lightness. Make it as weak as possible and only fix the bits that break when they break. Now it's with computers, it's an awful lot more sophisticated, but the principle remains, it doesn't need to be strong sideways. Race leader Gabriele Tarquini in the Honda, last time round 152.6, 152.6 from Ivan Muller, 152.8 from Jose Maria Lopez, 152.6 from Sebastian Loeb. So Tarquini 3 laps in, losing nothing at the moment to the Citroens. That gap still 1.3 seconds.
He's losing 3/10 in the last sector and making it up in sector 2, so potentially he's working harder in sector 2 with where all the corners are, or sector 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And losing it in the potentially easier section for the tyres. But
well, sector 3, of course, the 3 Citroens are all running nose to tail,
correct,
and so
true.
that will actually make them faster down the straights than Tarquini could possibly be on his own. So that would be logical. In the twisty stuff, running nose to tail with each other isn't helping and might be detrimental to them, but in the straight it's definitely helping. Stefano D'Asti in the black, red and white Chevy, getting his sleeves rolled up, battling with John Philippi, who's gone front to back, Nico Lapierre and Mehdi Benani there. Huffy all abandoned. He's Billy No Mates in 5th place, isn't he? And then Tiago Montero already up to 6th. I'm afraid Mar looks like he's going by, and D'Asti down the inside of Philippi for 8th. And around the outside, Lapierre. And sneaking by him as a result comes Benani, who's been in rather more touring car races. So now Nico Lapierre, in the prototypes, there's not quite such concerted multi-car battling. This is more like a GT race, or the GT class in an LMP Le Mans style race. So this is probably the stuff that he would normally be catching up and trying frustratedly to get by. Now he's in the thick of it. D'Asti's car just in front of John Philippi. The man trying to put the moves in at the moment is Nico Lapierre in the yellow Lada. Philippi being a little bottled, or doing a little bit of bottling up of Mehdi Benani's red, white and green Citroen. So that just does give the Frenchman behind the opportunity maybe to plan a bit of a lunge if he can get close enough.
Will be this weekend. Normally is on a par with his teammates.
Yep.
Works Honda, but this weekend is really struggled.
Well, actually, often this season he has been the best of the Hondas. But yeah, this weekend just not working quite the same way. Down the back straight, Gabriele Tarquini at the beginning of the lap had opened up the margin from 1.39 to 1.57. Just a fraction of a quicker lap than Ivan Muller could produce. Okay, well, away from the start, Tarquini on the driver's right and Huff behind him. Both make good starts. Valence wasn't bad. Tarquini is still the best front-wheel drive starter in the business. There's no question of that. Muller got a blinding start. He's inside, but watch the left rear.
Side by side.
Yeah, side by side. It's not that contact there that does the damage, because it wasn't the right rear. It's Gabriele inside him here. Where's the contact there? That must be where it happened, because the next corner he was facing backwards. Muller must have spent the repair time covering his car in silicone spray, because he sliced through everybody there, didn't he? Good start from Ivan Muller. Got in front of Jose Maria Lopez, but there hasn't been enough of that this year from Muller's viewpoint. They can still smell Tarquini's tyres and brakes as much as see him. Muller just shaking off Lopez for a moment. Of course, once they get onto the back straight, Lopez will creep a little closer. And this time round, the gap down from 1.57 to 1.42, so it's seesawing a little. Gabriele will be very happy if he can keep this up for another 8 laps.
Yeah, those 8 laps are going to be very long for him.
Aren't they, though? Especially if Muller gets free. Bizarrely, although he would go quicker with Lopez behind, looks like he's going quicker than Lopez is now, and again, maybe that's all part of Lopez following the slipstream for 3 or 4 laps. Maybe his engine is now starting to get up into that little marginal temperature range.
Ivan could have asked for a bit of a gap, just to so he doesn't have to keep watching his mirrors going into corners. But
well, one thing I'm pretty sure that Muller would be certain of, with Lopez being 80+ points ahead in the championship, is he's not going to have a random stab down the inside of Muller on lap 2 or 3 while they're trying to get by Tarquini to seal the championship with another 1-2-3 result. If the positions were reversed, I'm not saying that Muller would have a random stab at anybody, but certainly if there was an opportunity to get by, he might take that and then worry about getting by Tarquini, rather than allowing all 3 of them to get by Tarquini before he set about trying to pass Lopez. Now, well clear of the field. It was Huff's last lap time, 53.7. So 53.4 for leading, 53.0 of Muller last time round. So the gap is the smallest it's been since lap 1. Muller squirms over the curbs, but he is closing down Tarquini. Frenchman's got his head down and charging. That's got to be an ominous sight, hasn't it, when you're Tarquini, is just looking in the mirror. You don't even need the pit board, because you know that he is closer. You can always tell in the mirror.
yeah, you have a few reference markers as to where they were the lap before, and it's not a nice sight when you see that marker shrink.
Yeah.
But they know what they're doing. He'll keep his head down for as long as possible, and he just doesn't need to defend too early. He does that straight away, and he's going to have them all on his back.
One of those situations where the driver has to ignore what's in the mirror, which is very easy to say when you're sitting in a commentary box watching it on the monitors, and very much harder to do when you know that they're coming.
Yeah. And Gabriele had a bad first sector as well, that lap, where he was normally strong.
Or did the Citroens just have better? Yeah, all the 3 Citroens were under 43 seconds in sector 1, and Tarquini wasn't. That's in 9th place. He'll be pleased if he can hang on to that head of Banani. And Nico Lapierre, John Philippi, 4th on the grid. He really got shuffled very strongly, didn't he? I don't think he's been in that sort of 100% arms and elbows situation at the start. Where he normally qualifies, it's a little bit more random, but at the front there, he was in the shark tank, and I think it showed. He got eaten up and spat out. Grégoire de Moustier showing good pace in free practice, wasn't he? Didn't quite translate it into that one-lap speed in qualifying, but he's having a good battle here with Norbert Michelis. Again, battling with a guy like Michelis, who he, you know, has got respect for, because he, although they're not that dissimilar in age, you know, Norby's been in the championship a long while. He's a champion. He's won races outright as well as in the independence category. So de Moustier having a good, clean race with him, being able to race wheel to wheel. Whether the car is quite what Norby really wanted it to be this weekend or not is a bit immaterial. When you've had a race like that with somebody, it just gives you that boost of confidence. Oh, I really can do this.
It's a good drag along, isn't it? And, I don't know what Norby's done. Maybe it is set up, I don't know, but they certainly haven't unlocked the potential performance that the other guys are seeing.
No, definitely not. Which is most unusual. Mehdi Benani leapfrogged Stefano D'Aste down the back straight for 8th place. That was a bit of a gimme with a Citroën C-Élysée and a slipstream off Stefano D'Aste. It was always a bit of a no-brainer that he was going to get by. It's just a question of when, so he moves up into 8th. Marg still going strong in 7th, strong-ish. His best lap of 53.4. Best lap for his teammates, all in the 52s, 52.4s, 52.1s. Very sweet. Somebody enjoying their day at the races. Everybody just a little twitchy on the perch at Castrol Honda. That coming down, not in big increments. But Ivan is creeping up closer. Good view back from Norby of de Moustier, just having a little look around, whoops, and getting it all wrong there, trying to carry too much speed out of turn 10 onto the back straight. Thiago Monteiro comes down the long straight here, and right behind him now is Ivan Muller. The gap was 1.1 down to 0.7 at the beginning of the lap. It's definitely not that. Muller's closed another 2 or 3 tenths and bumping over the curbs isn't helping. Tarquini robs his car of traction because when it's bouncing in the air, it's not able to put the power down, and Muller takes the lead. He didn't even have to try and put in a pass. Gabrielli undid himself there by turning too tight at the apex.
He has to fight back straight away. This is his only opportunity, but I think Ivan's already got a slight gap on him.
He has, and the question now is, when will Lopez get by? Again, Lopez doesn't have to try too hard. He can afford to give away 20 points to Ivan every race now, and he'll still win the championship.
Exhaust glow from Tarquini's car.
Well, it gives you an indication, doesn't it, of just how hot the turbocharger runs when 12 feet away the inside of the exhaust pipe is cherry red. And that's all part of the trying to get the heat out of the car, is contain it in the exhaust pipe, and that's why you see them all thermally lagged, isn't it, to get the heat out down the exhaust rather than allow it to radiate out from the exhaust into the underbonnet area.
Yeah, my understanding of it, the hotter the exhaust pipe, then the cleaner the air flows, or the gases flow down the pipe. So trying to keep it all there and get the gases back out the car.
See, now when I were a lad, we're all about tuned length in exhaust pipes now. It's about tuned length, temperature and free flow and all. Oh yes, it's all getting far more scientific. Muller clear by far more than the deficit he had at any stage over Tarquini. He was 0.28 ahead at the line, and I think he's the better part of a second ahead now. And here comes Lopez. Gabrielli takes his defensive stance, middle and leg. Lopez is still going to try and go around the outside. Loeb will try and cut in. No, Lopez goes for the double back.
A copy of Ivan's? No.
Tarquini checks across. You saw his helmet move there, really having a good look over. That wasn't one for a quick glance in the mirrors. He needed to know where Lopez was so he could decide whether or not he was going to be able to take the line. And now Muller's going to scamper away clear. He's pulled out another half a second, 6-7 tenths on this lap. As Tarquini desperately tries to cling on to a podium here in China. Lopez and Loeb. Lopez looking for the opportunity to get by Tarquini. Loeb looking for the opportunity to get by them both, frankly. He'll take both if he can. He'll take Lopez on his own first and then deal with Tarquini afterwards.
As long as he doesn't take him out.
Yeah. I do like, Loeb does love to look for an opportunity to get by. I do like that a lot about his racing. The car moves around a lot and you know he's always looking for that half an opportunity. He may not have the touring car racing experience of Muller and Lopez, but he's a competitor. That's just helping a little. Tarquini not feeling the pressure quite so much from Lopez now, because Loeb's been sniffing around and Lopez is having to just be a little cautious about where he shows himself. Because losing one place to Ivan Muller is understandable. Losing a further 3 is verging on the unforgivable, even with the points lead he's got. On the outside we go again, and again Tarquini bumps off that curb. And Lopez couldn't make the cutback work that time. Interesting that Ivan seemed to have more pace, isn't it, than Lopez has got.
Yeah, I think Tarquini got set up quite well from Ivan, didn't he? And he wasn't going to fall for it again, which is what Lopez is trying to do to him. So, wise old man, Tarquini, he's not going to be fooled twice.
Well, he and Ivan have been racing touring cars against each other for many, many years as well, dating back to Alfa and Audi in the British Touring Car Championship in the 90s. They've got an awful lot of respect. I mean, we saw that particularly evident when they were teammates together at Seat. But they've got an awful lot of respect for each other. If there's one gentlemanly pass that Muller or Tarquini can rely on, it'll be of the other driver. I don't think Gabriele... Oh, I'm going to regret saying this now, aren't I? I don't think Gabriele has ever had Ivan off, or the other way around. I don't think so. Certainly not in the way that other drivers could point to them and say, he's had me off a few times. Long memories, especially the Italians.
So Lopez, we saw in qualifying, has a bit of a unique style through this corner, short shifting 2 gears, not just 1, 2 gears to get onto the back straight. And
puncture for Stefano D'Aste. That's a shame. He was really enjoying his race. And he was in 9th place. Is that a legacy of running over somebody else's accident damage, or of a biff of his own? Tarquini again on the inside. This time avoids the curb, but he does run out wider, and Lopez has got good traction and was waiting for that opportunity. Really tucks in front again. Lopez can't Chilton him and out-drag him to the line there. To wait and see exactly what he's got.
Quick lunge up into turn 1, maybe.
Not from there. He had a thought about it, didn't he? He's jinking around in the mirrors, but there just wasn't enough of an overlap. Lopez all over the back of him at the moment. Really trying to make something happen, piling the pressure on Gabriele. Great camera view there of the way that these front-wheel drive cars tend to just oversteer a little in the corners to try and alleviate some of the wear on the front tyre, and that's all. That's the balance you're looking for, isn't it? Get just enough and not too much of a slide going.
Yep, controlling the slide with the front wheels and the throttle pedal, just to keep forward momentum going. And it's a nice camera angle to see.
Nobody on the pit wall wants to see themselves. They want to watch this battle for second place.
Someone's listening to you.
Yeah. Muller's gone. Last time round, 3.2 seconds ahead of the battle for second. And while Lopez can afford not to have to make a pass on Tarquini, he still wants to make a pass on Tarquini. Forces Gabrielli deeper than we've seen before now under braking. And this is where, as a driver, James, you've got to think on your feet. You know, plan A isn't working, then the driver in front of you does something completely different, and suddenly you're trying to work out, how can I use this to my advantage?
Yeah, it looks like Lopez is using that to get really close onto this front straight, and I think he'll try and open a gap up into turn 1, into turn 2, and ultimately exit at turn 3. He's able to hold a much tighter line just here, but maybe a bit of a nudge somewhere around here will help him. Gabrielli's wise to it this time.
Tarquini doing a great job. If he hangs on for second place, it will be very well earned. There was a little tap mid-corner there, but lucky for Gabrielli, the next corner is a right-hander, so he controls that line. Lives to fight another turn. Ivan Muller 3.5 seconds clear of this battle. He's going to go on to win this race. That'll be win number 5 of the season for Muller. Be a win apiece for he and Jose Maria Lopez. And the difference here is that Muller was second in race 1. Lopez won it, whereas Lopez looks as though he's going to be third here. So Ivan will reclaim 3 of the 4 points that he lost to Lopez in qualifying. Unless Lopez manages to put the move in on Tarquini here. Is he close enough? He's going to have to use the grass, isn't he? Gabrielli's easing him over and over and over. So where's Lopez going? He's on the grippy stuff. Gabrielli can't brake quite as deep, which means he'll be slower mid-corner, and Lopez with the traction immediately. Can he get him on the run, or will he be brave enough to go around the outside into the final turn? He's leaning on Tarquini, and now he's going to try and cut back in and make it a drag race for the line. Has Tarquini got what it takes? The winner is Muller, and second place Tarquini by inches, surely. Yes. By, what's that? 25 thousandths of a second. A good drag race, great battle by Gabriele Tarquini to hang on to second. A shame for him that he couldn't hold off Muller as easily. Loeb in 4th place, Huff in 5th, then Thiago Montero ahead of Marching Noir. Mehdi Benani in 8th, Nico Lapierre in 9th, and John Philippi in 10th. Norby or Mikulic in 11th ahead of Gregoire de Moustier. And retirements from this race: Stefano D'Aste with a puncture, Nicky Katzberg with as yet undisclosed mechanical woes, Hugo Vallant broken suspension. Tom Chilton, Tom Coronel did not start. But Ivan Muller claims win number 5 of the season here in China. It's a little bit disco for Ivan Muller. I wonder if he likes a nice little bit of disco. He does like a win though, Ivan Muller. 4-time World Touring Car Champion, won't add to his title tally this year unless something very bizarre happens in the next few weeks. However, he adds to his winning tally. That is 5 for the season now, and he continues to top the all-time standings, 46 race wins. He's only had 3 more successful seasons than this, and that was 8 wins in 2011, 7 wins in 2013, and 9 wins in 2012. We've got 2 more race weekends, and it's not hard to see how he could be back up to 7 wins by the end of this year's championship. same as he won in 2013, one of his 4 title-winning years. So Gabriele Tarquini second by inches. I'm not sure quite what speed they're doing across the start-finish line, but 25 thousandths of a second is not a great bit of real estate covered at any space. So that was a very close, near photo finish from Gabriele Tarquini ahead of Jose Maria Lopez. So a little bit of a sigh of relief from Ivan there. Hot work in the car as ever. And as ever, waiting to have a chat with him when he returns is Alex Legui. Ivan goes for a little pre-interview meander. Well, let's hear from our race winner. He's with Alex.
Another Citroen win. Huge, huge smiles from this gentleman here. Ivan, that was a brilliant, brilliant drive. A fantastic overtake of Gabriele. Well, I have to say that there are a few people who are probably very pleased about that. Fantastic result, well done.
Yeah, fantastic result, especially after the beginning of the weekend where, to be honest, on qualifying I wasn't sure to be in the top 10. Then qualifying was so-so. I did 2 great starts on both ways. The boys give me a great car, and then when I arrived behind Gabriel, I knew I didn't have a lot of opportunity to overtake him, so I knew it will be immediately or never.
You've had a few tough weekends, haven't you? This must make quite a difference mentally for you.
Yeah, for sure, but you know, hard weekend is part of the job of the driver, so it's at this moment we can see if a driver is strong or not.
It's nice to see that smile back there, Ivan.
Thank you.
Always nice to see the smile. Gabriele smiling as well. It was a long, hard race for Gabriele, and just, you know, that one pass, Ivan did come up fast behind him. Well, James, he did a pretty good job holding off Lopez for almost all of the race, and made a good start as well, you know, ticked all the boxes, just Ivan had a little bit too much pace for him.
Yeah, shoulders out at the start, and he made that gap, which I'm sure helped him with Lopez, because he couldn't have taken many more laps with Lopez. Ivan was too quick, and like he said, he had to get past quickly and in the first go, which he did. And Gabriele didn't have an answer for it, but second is a phenomenal result for him this weekend.
Yeah, good effort from Gabriele Tarquini indeed. And you get the same number of points for second in race 1 as in race 2, so it's not like there's less points. Cars already coming out onto the grid for our next race of the afternoon in the Chinese touring cars. And Mehdi Banani, double bubble for him, a second win in the independence category. And importantly for him, John Philippi was second, Norbert Michelisz third, ahead of Gregoire de Moustier in the Yokohama Trophy. So Mehdi closes down. What was the gap before this race? It was 30 points, wasn't it? So that's almost half that gap again. So that's a very important pair of results for Mehdi Banani. That championship is shaping up very nicely for a conclusion at the end of the year.